All right, guys, welcome back. Southeastern 14, week one. A lot of action in the books here. Blayne Gilmer joining me, as always. You know the face, Blayne Gilmer. He's in a different location, as usual,
Yeah,
but that's okay.
trying to do the best aesthetically behind me in the lobby of the home two suites here, but we'll get it done.
That's all right. We'll get it done. We're gonna hop on here for about a half hour or so and kind of discuss some big talking points. I see that Justin and Donovan are already in the chats. Justin watching this Vanderbilt game. I don't know how he's able to do that consistently here. That hasn't been the prettiest game either, but that's a good place to start, Blayne, because as we were talking about before we started recording, man, a lot of sloppiness, but it's week one. And as you said, what did we learn? I don't know.
I just don't think we learned a ton about a lot of teams. We did learn about two teams this week that I said unabashedly were not good football teams, and that is South Carolina and Florida. And we learned that in abundance that they are not good football teams, mainly because they are not good up front. And when you are not good up front, you are not going to be a good football team. We did see some good stuff out of Ole Miss. We saw some really good stuff out of Arkansas. We saw Tennessee and Georgia both be a lot sloppier than we thought they would be early on in those games. Georgia even more so than Tennessee. But when the head coach of Virginia comes out and says, "Hey, it was a win for us just to be on the field today." I know they went through a tragedy and stuff, but that tells you where that program is right now emotionally and building things back and stuff like that. And we just didn't learn a ton about these teams this week, and I think it'll all get ratcheted up a little bit more next week. But like I said, there are some high points, and I'm sure we'll hit some of those performances.
Well, just quickly, since you just mentioned Georgia and they are the two-time defending national champion, what did you see from the Dogs and their 48-7 win against UT Martin?
The defense is elite once again. I mean, the speed is unreal. Georgia's defense didn't drop off at all. Hey, Andy, how you doing, man? Glad to have you in there. Share with everybody. Have them come in here, Andy. But no, the thing that we saw early on was I think Georgia was trying to be super vanilla and just use it almost as like, okay, we're going to treat this as like let's just execute and stuff like that. But Lad McConkey didn't play. Dejan Edwards didn't play. There's a lot of guys that they didn't decide to roll that have been nicked up injury wise. But plain and simple, Georgia did not execute for a good 2.5 quarters on offense the way that they're going to need to execute going forward. And, Carson Beck at times had some struggles. But other than that, I mean, you saw that defense dominate. And I think the same thing can be said for Tennessee. Tennessee's defense played lights out, but Joe Milton didn't, for a good portion of that game, didn't execute the way they thought. So two quarterbacks that I think people are expecting a lot out of just were rusty in their first starts.
Yeah, we'll go to Tennessee next because I think, again, they win 49-13 over Virginia. Like you said, there were certainly some things, I think, early on, and you pointed out in our group text and everything. But, I mean, listen, the one thing we talked about Tennessee, and you've always said this, and I think it's not talked about enough, they want to run the ball. They want to get their running backs involved. And when you look at what they were doing in this game, which, again, game flow kind of helps us out too, but Dylan Sampson, who accounts for 4 touchdowns in this game, 3 on the ground, Jabari Small, right? They get 12, 13, and 13 in terms of carries in this game. And again, that may not just be a game where they're winning by double digits. That may be something we see regularly, right? This season, when you think about those 3 guys, and again, man, you think about what they have at least with those 3 guys, and we know wide receiver wise, Ramel Keaton caught a big one. I think it's 40-yard or something like that. But yeah, I mean they've got the weapons, and I think it should be interesting, like you said, to see what Joe Milton looks like in week 2 and beyond, and just seeing how that works. But man, those running backs, they're talented.
Yeah, they are talented, but as you mentioned, Tennessee does want to definitely run the football. And sorry, I got a phone going off in the lobby over here, if you can hear that. But Tennessee wants to run the football, and when they get that momentum going and get the teams worn down with the tempo, that's when the big strike plays come. So I thought that was definitely part of their MO and what they usually do there for Tennessee. And I'm going to kick it back to you while this phone rings, Blake, because it's annoying me.
It's fine. Again, this is part of the elements here at Southeastern 14. If you're hopping on for the first time, which most of you are this season, because first time we've done a reaction on a Saturday night like this. But Kentucky, what about the Cats? Because again, we all know, if you've watched the channel before, Blayne, very, very high on Kentucky this year. We've been high on Kentucky, but Blaine's definitely been the highest in terms of looking at this team coming into the season. Got off to a somewhat slow start, I guess you could say, early on, but the second quarter, things really turn around. They got a Ray Davis, run there early and wind up really just kind of kicking things into gear after that. Defense certainly helped out, making a big play there too. But what'd you see from Kentucky that you liked? Is there anything that kind of, still want to see them improve here and there? Like we said, all these teams are going to be able to improve in a lot of areas, but what stood out with the Cats?
Yeah, so this one I would put in a different category than Beck and Milton with Leary, because Leary, this is his first game since coming back from a torn pec. So I think he was kind of filling out his physical limitations a little bit as he was working his way into it. And when you've torn a right pec muscle and you're a right-handed quarterback, Blake, there's going to be a little bit of hesitation at some points and things like that. But I think what you saw out of this Kentucky offense this year, or this game, even when they struggled in years past, there's a level of explosiveness with Dane Key when they get him open, and with Tavion Robinson and stuff like that. That's why Kentucky's going to be good, and they ran the ball a little bit better than they did last year in this game. So, again, these new clock rules, guys, I saw a tweet on this, Blake. I think it's going to change the dynamic of how we look at, okay, what's a blowout, what's not a blowout, because there's just going to be less plays, less time. The clock's going to go faster. You look up at this score and late into the second quarter in the Alabama game, it was 14-0. Alabama, like late into the second quarter, Middle Tennessee State. But then, of course, they get rolling. But, by the way, I mean, I just think the really good teams, the teams that we expect to be good, they didn't really step on the gas immediately, but they all ended up showing that they're going to be good. They're going to be fine. I do think that Georgia was very, very lackluster, but this Kentucky team, we know what we're going to get out of them defensively. We know we're going to get Georgia defensively. And now I think you can say, you know what you're going to get out of Tennessee defensively, because Tennessee is their MO is that they're going to create a lot of negative plays for the opponent. But then also they're going to be aggressive, and they may give up some shots here and there. But I think Tennessee's got a really good defensive team, and now it's going to be the other way around. How does Milton catch up? You mentioned that running game. I think you're going to see 4 or 5 teams in the SEC that play that brand of football. We're going to be really good on defense. You're going to run the football priority, and then how does the quarterback play come along?
Yeah, quick shout out to our guy Justin here, giving us the $2 super chat for It Just Means More, but he's also sending us the $10 super chat. He said earlier he had a bourbon to drink, so we believe Justin. Always great to us here, so we appreciate the super chats. Justin, as always, you guys can leave a super chat in the comments as well, and we always appreciate your support of the channel. But let's talk about some other stuff here. I guess of note, Blayne, like I mentioned, it's probably hard to take a lot away from Ole Miss scoring 73 points and beating Mercer 73-7. Was it 38-7 at halftime? And but kind of went as we expected in terms of Jackson Dart being the guy from the start at quarterback. But Spencer Sanders got a chance to play too, threw a couple touchdowns. But I mean, is there anything really to say about Ole Miss other than they did what they were supposed to do?
Yeah, I think they found a go-to receiver, a guy outside of Watkins and Trey Harris, and I think that's a big thing for Jackson Dart to have somebody, because that was really their big question. That they lost a guy in the offseason they thought was going to be really, really productive for him, and Marshall, and then he gets kicked off the team, and then here comes Trey Harris, a transfer from La Tech that comes through there. And nobody was really talking about him tremendously in the offseason, but my goodness, he had himself a game to start off. I believe 4 touchdowns on the day, so that's a way to start it off right there, and I think that's a big deal. But when it comes down to it, Ole Miss is just going to be, how does Jackson Dart, because it looks like predominantly Blake Jackson Dart was the guy who got most of those snaps early, and Spencer Saunders didn't come in until it was well in hand. So it looks like this is going to be Jackson Dart's team to roll with. And I'll tell you what, I am pretty excited. Last I saw, Tulane was taking care of business against a pretty good South Alabama team at home. I'm super excited about that matchup next week in New Orleans against Tulane. That's going to be two good quarterbacks in Jackson Dart and Michael Pratt going at it for each other. So I think we learned that they've got a number one receiver in Trey Harris, and we didn't, other than that, we learned that Mercer is not ready to play with SEC teams yet. But hey, there you go. Who is?
Well, like you said, Tulane's up a couple touchdowns midway through the third in that game against South Alabama, and we will have a full preview and our predictions for that game coming up on the channel either Monday or Tuesday. So you guys can, Ole Miss fans, you'll have that to look forward to. But yeah, that should be a good one as well there. Someone asked about, and by the way, Justin, we appreciate you gifting 5 memberships to the channel. That is awesome. So we really appreciate you doing that. But someone asked about Mississippi State. I know they were another one where we talked about earlier that maybe took them a little bit to get going, but once they did, I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of that one. That's just one of those games that gets caught kind of in the middle of the others. But I don't know, Blayne, if you caught anything with Mississippi State or anything that stood out there with them and their 48-7 win over Southeast Louisiana.
I saw highlights of their game, but I mean, when they're playing Southeast Louisiana, that's not what I'm going to prioritize. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, I mean, you look at the yards per carry for Jaquavius Marks. I mean, that's what they want to see. They want to see feed him the right. He got 19 carries in this game. That's what you have to take care away from that. Is even in a blowout, he got 19 carries in a game, which I don't know if he's had that many carries yet. I mean, at Mississippi State. So they're going to feed him the rock. That's a big deal that you get to see there. Will Rogers was efficient, and that's what you want to see. You want to see efficiency, command of the offense, things of that nature for Mississippi State transitioning from the air raid to Kevin Barbay's more pro style type offense. So I think that was something that they have to be encouraged by. Somebody also asked, Donovan talks about Auburn.
Yeah, let's get to Auburn because I thought Auburn was a team, like I said, and I told you, and I said it to everybody else, they were the team I wanted to see the most just because I wanted to see what it looked like from game one. And remember, UMass, I know UMass it's still UMass, but they come off of breaking a 24-game road losing streak last week, beat New Mexico State. Didn't look pretty. I mean, they look pretty good against New Mexico State. I know, again, you put the competition in context, but yeah, I mean, I thought Auburn did a lot of things, and Robby Ashford comes out and just has a game from the start when all we've been talking about is Peyton Thorne and all this, but we knew they were going to use Robby Ashford, and so you knew Hugh Freeze was going to do it, and you see how he used him here, and man, yeah, I thought Auburn looked really good. So.
Yeah, when you talk about now, you got Robby Ashford that they can use in that kind of dynamic way to come in and really be a change of pace guy, and he's going to be fresh, and he knows that he's going to be in there running the football predominantly. Now, what does Hugh Freeze have built in off of that? Because he's going to have Robby Ashford with the ability to throw the football off of those plays. So it's really like a Wildcat on steroids type deal when he has the ball for Auburn. I thought Peyton Thorne did some good things as well for Auburn. So I'm pretty high on Auburn. Like I said, I think Auburn's going to win the Iron Bowl this year, just with that being at home. Now Alabama looked really, really good, but I'm just telling you, I'm looking forward. It's only the first week, and I'm already looking forward to the end of the season when that Iron Bowl matchup comes around too. So it's really, really fun to just go ahead and kind of be looking down the road at some of these matchups and stuff as things going. But last check with Alabama, speaking of the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Jalen Milroe really just got rolling after they started slow a little bit too, just like everybody else did, it seemed, this week, Blake. But, Jalen Milroe, we said here on the channel, we had a video that said, what does it mean if Jalen Milroe is your quarterback? I think it means the best version of Alabama this year, because I think we saw his legs were needed because Alabama has some youth on the offensive line, and the team was able, Middle Tennessee State was able to get after Milroe a little bit, flushing out of the pocket, and he runs and creates things. Bad snap. He turns a bad snap into a 21-yard touchdown. Yeah. I mean, just crazy athleticism by Milroe. So the state of Alabama has a lot of excitement in it, and is going to have a lot of excitement in it between Auburn and Alabama this year, Blake.
Yeah, I think so. Again, like you said, you look at his numbers now; they're up 42-7. I guess going to the fourth quarter, something like that. Remember, MTSU's not. I don't think MTSU's going to be a bad team, and so I think that's
no, they're not.
I mean, and look, like you said, Alabama can make decent teams, at least, maybe at that level, look bad. And again, Jalen Milroe counted for 5 touchdowns, and yeah, he has done some things pretty well in this game. And like you said, just the skill set and the versatility he has should really help. I was going to mention too, I forgot to go back to this earlier when you were talking about Harris at Ole Miss, but I don't know how many times you've ever seen this before, Blayne, and they may have mentioned this. The stat may already be out there, but a guy who catches, I got to pull this up again. Because I don't know, again, if you guys, I assume if you're not an Ole Miss fan, you probably weren't watching this game. That's just my guess. But he catches a touchdown at 14:05 left in the first quarter. Catches another one at 12:26. Catches another one at 11:45. I can't imagine there's anyone that's cost 3 touchdown passes in a span of, what is that? 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something like that. That is nuts, right? But I mean, that's how some of these games can go in week 1 when you have the discrepancy, right? But
that's
still,
like Calvin Johnson type stuff right there.
Yeah, it's just it's a wild stat. So if you're looking for one of the wildest stats of week 1, it's that one for sure. Like you said, Harris goes 4 touchdowns on the day, but he gets 3 of them in a span of 2 minutes and 20 seconds essentially to start the game. So let's see what else we got here. And I know, again, guys, we may not hit on every single game because, for example, I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of Arkansas, but they took care of business.
I watched some Arkansas.
Did you get a chance to watch some of that?
Well, I'll just tell you, our big question with Arkansas is where's the explosivity going to come from on the perimeter, right? And he had Jaden Wilson for a short pass that turned into a 65-yard touchdown. So what I'm saying is when you're starting to get some of that, we know KJ Jefferson's going to be good. We know Rocket Sanders is going to be good, but that explosiveness on the receiver position is encouraging. Now it is Western Carolina, so it is what it is. But when it comes down to it, KJ Jefferson looked like they should look. Arkansas did what Tennessee, even though it's Virginia. Let me tell you something. Virginia is about as borderline of a Power 5 team as possible. Okay. So when it comes to a team like Virginia, when it comes to Georgia with UT Martin, Arkansas did what they were supposed to do to a team like that in Western Carolina, and Ole Miss did what they were supposed to do in a team like that. So I think those two coaching staffs, Lane Kiffin's staff and Sam Pittman's staff, have to feel really good about their team coming out and just taking care of business the way they should.
Justin, again, leaving a couple of super chats for us. We appreciate it, Justin. We did mention a little bit with Joe Milton early on, but I guess, Blayne, anything else you want to add on Joe Milton? Just not even maybe just game 1, but like just what do you want to see, in game 2? And then is there anything today, I guess, that we didn't really mention earlier?
Yeah, I mean, he's simply at this point, he's not Hendon Hooker is what it is in terms of Hendon Hooker was able to layer throws in front of safeties, behind linebackers, and that doesn't always mean throwing the ball 90 miles an hour trying to break the dude's fingers. And that's what Joe Milton continued to try to do today, and the ball failed on him when he did. Now, sometimes he would have to take so much off of it, it was just like a flick of the wrist, and the thing was still going 50 yards. I mean, seriously, that's the kind of strength he has that he tried to put in there to stop overthrowing people and bring it to where they could catch the ball. So Milton, I think him and Carson Beck are both going to be fine as they go forward, but both of them, you could tell, were amped up and we're trying to force things a little bit at certain times. But I will tell one thing that's impressive about Joe Milton is, my goodness, at 6'5", 240, he was in a little breakdown about to juke somebody. He said, "Never mind, I'm not going to juke somebody. I'm just going to take my hand and shove it through his face and knock him to the ground and just roll over his body at 6'5", 240." Real impressive with just his size and his athleticism. But he's got to be more accurate. And we talked about Mississippi State. The late great Mike Leach said, "You can't teach accuracy." That's a quote from him. You can't teach accuracy. So I don't know what they're going to need to do. Maybe change some of the nuances of the routes or things like that. But as long as Tennessee's able to run the football effectively like they did today and play the caliber of defense they had, Tennessee's going to be tough for anybody to beat.
Yeah, Tennessee next week hosts Austin Peay. Then they got the game, of course, in Gainesville against Florida following week. So that will be an interesting one for sure. By the way,
who's tougher, Austin Peay or Florida?
Oh boy. Well, If you want to watch Friday's edition of the SEC Daily Show, you're going to get some opinions, probably picking Austin Peay on that, because there was a lot of strong reaction to that Florida Utah game for sure. But Blayne can say he told you so. He can for sure on that one. So Travis,
listen, South Carolina and Florida both have just massive problems up front. But anyways, go ahead.
well, no, I mean these are two games that have certainly exposed some weaknesses for those two teams. Travis, we appreciate you joining us. Yeah, we talked about Kentucky a little bit early on, but yeah, I mean, if you've certainly followed the channel, you know again how high we are on the Cats, and yeah, I mean, I thought again a little bit of a slow start for Kentucky, but I think eventually you just knew the talent was going to take over, and I think it's just the options, right? I mean, there were so many different guys, whether it was Ray Davis, whether it was Key, Barian Brown does what he does, right? Returns a kickoff, whatever, for a touchdown. I don't remember, what was it, probably close to 100 yards or whatever. And so it's just, yeah, I mean, they've just got so many options, and I think that's what's going to be fun to watch for this Kentucky team, Blayne. It's seeing how all of these guys continue to kind of form that chemistry. You said it earlier. I mean, it's Devin Leary's first game with Kentucky, first actual game with them, not just, in the summer getting prep work and all that. Like, you're actually playing a game. And so that chemistry is only going to get, more. You're going to have more experience in terms of just the chemistry with everybody together moving forward.
Well, that I think he had, like I said earlier, he had to get that confidence in his pec. Like, hey, I'm about to go and let it loose in game action. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that when that's surgically repaired and you're literally your pec muscle is anchored back to your body. I mean, that's tough to get over mentally. And he comes out and lets it loose. But I do have a team like that I really have to rave about, and this is one that I just gotta say, I'm liking my prediction. I said Texas A&M is going to put it all together this year, and I'm predicting them to go 10-2, and I'm predicting them to beat Alabama when they play Alabama at home, and down the line here 5 or 6 weeks from now. If Connor Weigman's playing the way he played tonight, with the confidence and the precision, and he's out there just absolutely slinging it to guys like Evan Stewart and Noah Thomas, who nobody talks about.
Yeah, I was going to say, Noah Thomas, yes. Like, he's the one that we didn't talk about him enough. Like, we knew, but like you said, it's easy to talk about the other guys, but man, the size with this guy, unbelievable. Yeah.
So you have a number one already in Evan Stewart, and now you have a guy who's 6'4", 200 that could be a number one at a lot of schools in Noah Thomas. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to add Anais Smith, and we're also going to add Moose Muhammad in there on top of it. Oh, and we've got Max Johnson's little brother, Jake Johnson, at tight end that's coming in and going to play well. Max Wright is still there at tight end. I'm telling you, Texas A&M, there's a reason. You go look at all the composite rankings for talent. They're either the third or fourth most talented team in the country in every ranking that you see in terms of the collection of their talent. And, man, they look like it tonight. And if you think winning 49-10 as they are right now over New Mexico doesn't matter, just remember they lost to App State last year. So this matters in Kyle Field. And it matters because they're going to go face a Miami team that actually played pretty darn well this next week. So having this confidence rolling into it's big.
Yeah, Miami got a 38-3 win over Miami of Ohio, and I think there are a lot of people that thought that could be much closer just based on what their expectations were from Miami of Ohio. So, so that's one definitely to look at. Again, Justin, we appreciate the super chat. Yeah, hit that like button. We'll be doing this all season here with our Saturday night. We'll have a rotating crew. Chris will be joining us on nights whenever he's not covering another game, and so. Yeah, we appreciate you guys. And on this one, I had to remember, I forgot that I had been called in the stream before last year, the Ryan Day lookalike. And I don't know if I see it, Blayne, but that's what they go with sometimes. But I'm at least in the right conference, right? At least I'm in the SEC.
I don't think your beard is not the shade of midnight black, just for men, freshly dyed, tint that it needs to be compared. And Ryan Day has never put on Carhartt in his life, so that's the fact that you have a Carhartt hat on, big differentiator.
Well, listen, if Ryan Day wants to give me his salary, we get paid the big bucks here at Southeastern 14, folks, but.
A tenth of his salary.
Yes, a tenth of it. Which, by the way, if you want to keep donating to the channel to up our salaries to Ryan Day's level, you can do that with a super chat and anything else you would like to leave us. We're also looking for advertiser sponsors for doing these live streams and everything. So if any of you guys know anyone out there that wants to advertise on the channel, sponsor, let us know. And email info@southeastern14.com. So.
And it won't be some vanilla ad read either. We will learn the nuances of your business, and we will compare it to an SEC football team and be able to have a very good time with it. So make sure that you I want to add that element to it. Then let us advertise with your business.
We will spend an entire day at the business undercover boss style. We will be there. We will go undercover just to get the ins and outs of everything. But by the way, appreciate you joining us, Johnny. Yep, Vols get a nice win there against Virginia. Yeah, Jesse, Texas A&M. We just said, man, Connor Wigman looked great. He's looked great. I know the game's still going on, but it's 49-10. It may be over now.
10-2. 10-2 Texas A&M this year is my prediction.
Blayne's got 10-2 for the Aggies. By the way, guys, we're not going to go too long on this because we'll obviously have a lot more reaction stuff coming the next couple of days. I know it's a holiday weekend, but we'll also have our predictions for next week's games out early in the week as we usually do. So, hey, we appreciate Johnny. I'll get back to you in a second, Justin. Appreciate Johnny becoming a new member of the channel. You can join the It Just Means More tier, folks. That's just a simple, hey, we appreciate what you guys are doing, and I'll give you $4 a month to support you guys making more videos. So that helps all of us, and so we appreciate you joining, Johnny. All you guys can as well. Again, just hit that join button, and you can hop in there. All right, Justin, we're going to get back to the football in a second, but I know you got to get the super chat in. $5, adult beverage of choice to watch SEC football play.
Well, I'm not a big drinker myself, but if I did any kind of, I would have to say it'd have to be definitely something bourbon centered, any kind of bourbon and ginger ale, bourbon and something like that. Anything that I get, or just bourbon on the rocks would be something I have to go with. But again, I'm not a big drinker myself. So what about you?
Well, the perfect segue, Blayne. I will drink anything any sponsor out there wants us to drink. Okay, so if you want to sponsor the channel and you have an adult beverage,
unleaded,
drink it.
Unleaded gasoline, Blake, whatever.
Doesn't matter,
Blake
man.
will drink it.
Doesn't matter. So there's my answer, Justin. I know that's not what you wanted, but that's what I'm giving you. So, all right, guys, look, anything you want to talk about, hop in the chat here, leave your comments. We've talked about pretty much, I think we've said something about every team at this point except for Vanderbilt, which, again, Blayne, I don't, I've watched a little bit of this game.
They played Alabama A&M. I mean,
it wasn't a pretty first half. I mean, it's 5-3 at the end of the first quarter. It's 12-3 at halftime, and then Vanderbilt's kind of cranked it up a little bit from there. Which, by the way, as we've said, I mean, whether it's Jaden McCowan or Will Shepherd, I know a lot of people, may look at Vanderbilt going into the season and just be like, hey, that's probably the team that's going to finish last in the East, or maybe they finish ahead of a team that really disappoints. But those two guys, though, man, they are so fun to watch when you just see what they have there. And again, I think that's only going to help AJ Swan, even if this probably hasn't been the game they've necessarily wanted to see from him at times. But those two guys are pretty explosive, and so they're going to be fun to watch this season.
Vanderbilt is a better coach team than Florida. They're better coach than Florida is. They are more organized. They fight harder. I'm just telling you, Florida has problems. Now, I think they'd be patient for Billy Napier, for that next recruiting class or two that he's got lined up. But I don't know how long they're going to be willing to wait. Maybe they saw what Deion Sanders does and said, hey, we hate Florida State so bad that we're going to go we're going to go offer Deion Sanders to go get him after that. By the way, that was crazy. Colorado winning with 86 new guys. That was absolutely nuts. We've talked about just about everything, like you said, Blake. We haven't talked about LA Knight beating The Miz on Payback WWE, which the movement continues over there. So I'm pretty excited about that as well.
If you guys are wrestling fans, you're gonna really love the live streams that Blayne and I are on this year. But if you're not, boy, you're really gonna hate us at some point. But that's okay. You can still leave a super chat, even if you do. But going back to the Tennessee defensive front, we'll talk about Payback soon enough, guys. But I mean, Blayne, on the Tennessee defensive front, I think you may have mentioned a little bit earlier. We've talked about so much, I can't remember. But any additional comments on that part of the game for the Vols?
Tennessee just does such a good job of stifling opponents' run games. They got much and more improved from Heupel's first year to second year, and it was even better today when it came down to stopping them from running the football. Let's look at the team stats here. Held them under 100 yards rushing, 2.4 yards per carry. So that was, I mean, it's just impressive. And the negative plays that Tennessee creates, they're so quick up front. You're starting to see explosive athletes. And by the way, some of the guys that Tennessee's added in the edge class, in the class of 2024, the edge rushers and edge defenders that they've got coming, if Heupel can, keep this momentum going and they're able to get to November, get to that Georgia game with either no losses or one loss, then you could see a really special recruiting class formed together for Tennessee as well.
Yep. Nice stuff from the Vols, we said. And again, Johnny, we appreciate the $5 super chat here. Nice, great day to be a volunteer as the Vols get off to a 1-0 start. And, that kind of brings up something, and I can't remember the year. And again, Justin, we appreciate the Vandy victory dollars. Hopefully Vandy wins a lot of games this year. That means we'll get more super chat money with you. But I mean, I feel like sometimes, and I'll probably go back to last year, right? Or even the year before, I can't remember. It all runs together, guys. But usually we get a big surprise in week one. It seems like there's always like, okay, this team plays it down to the wire. They win maybe, but they only win by a field goal or something. It's way more crazy. Like there was really nothing today. We're just like, oh boy, there's a huge surprise, right? I mean, again, South Carolina losing to some people may be a surprise, but like, as you said, Blayne, not to you. And I mean, I don't think we ever fully felt like, South Carolina's going to come out and win this by 2 touchdowns or anything. So
they're trying to make a comeback right now. They're still down 14. They get the ball. It's 9 minutes to go, and they got the ball in North Carolina territory. But it's going to take a heroic effort with Drake May on the other side across from them. But yeah, I agree with you. Continue.
No, it's just, I feel like it's unusual. Usually in the SEC, even when you have these kind of games, usually it's like a huge surprise. And like we said too, I don't think we were not surprised by the Utah-Florida outcome, which a lot of people for some reason were, and we just we weren't there this summer, as we mentioned. We were not very high on the Gators, and it wasn't a great start, even if they did have some chances down the stretch to make that game interesting. But yeah, a lot of dominant type performances from a scoring standpoint. But like you said, there was some sloppiness as you would expect in week one. But yeah, I mean, it's week one, and so a long way to go. So
we got a debate going on between Hal Jubin and James Corey Fox in the comments. James Corey Fox saying Tennessee was vanilla and didn't show everything. I agree. I also agree with Hal Jubin saying that, hey, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. It's kind of a mix between the two, okay? Because, yes, Tennessee was vanilla. Yes, Joe Milton struggled. He didn't hit some of the passes that they're going to need him to hit when guys are open. When we say open in the SEC, we're talking about if they have this much separation, about a yard separation, that's open, and you need to hit that pass. And sometimes he didn't do that. Carson Beck didn't do it either for Georgia tonight early on in that game. So I think you saw two talented quarterbacks with big arms that were pumped up a little bit. Their first start, being the guy, excited to get things going. So I think it's kind of both in the middle. Both teams being vanilla. We'll learn a lot, seeing they both have cupcake games, in week 2. So we'll see how improved they look in those cupcake games.
Trey says he thinks that Beck and Georgia struggled a bit. I mean, you talked about it, Blayne. It wasn't the most crisp performance from Georgia, but I was going to go off of what you just said about Joe Milton. Like, I guess just with Carson Beck, what stood out maybe positive, negative in terms of just what you saw? And again, it's UT Martin. I mean, not to knock them, but there's only so much you can gain. But anything notable there?
The positive for Georgia and Carson Beck is that he had command of the offense in terms of they were making a lot of checks at the line, all that kind of stuff. So he knew what was going on with protections and all that kind of stuff. But man, Georgia's offensive line just didn't, push people around. Georgia got the best offensive line in college football. I'll tell you that. That is a fact. I'm telling you, they were up there with. They're going to have 4 guys probably get drafted off that offensive line, and they just did not come out and play the way that they're going to play later on this year. I don't believe, and then more so with they had a couple of drops, things like that. It was just a lack of rhythm. Also, they're breaking in, Mike Bobo once again. So I think there was probably some, filling that out situation in a live game. Again, I think you'll see improvement week 1, week 2. But here we go. We're talking about Georgia wins 48-7, and people are like, man, they struggled. And then you're talking about Tennessee winning by what, about the same score over there against a Virginia team that's probably not much better than UT Martin, 49-13. I mean, so it is what it is. But this is the stat of the night. I told everybody coming into this game that South Carolina could not run the football. They don't have SEC running backs, and their offensive line is awful. And they have 3 rushing yards against North Carolina. A North Carolina offense, or a North Carolina defense that literally was more porous than the southern border. I'm just telling you, like, just people pouring across last year, Gene Chizik and stuff. Like, it's just absolutely crazy going on. And Gene Chizik looks like he's, coaching a just juggernaut now. 3 rushing yards. That's like Georgia versus Clemson 2 years ago type style. I mean, crazy stuff.
Yeah, pretty wild. I don't know. We'll see with South Carolina, like you mentioned. I know you'll be watching the press conference closely, so we'll get Blaine's reaction to Shane Beaver's press conference early in the week, perhaps. But we appreciate you, Dwayne. Yeah, Arkansas with a big win, and I thought the guys with Arkansas that about what you expect, and we talked about earlier, just kind of some of the different things there in that game, but. I mean, I just don't think you learn a whole lot about Arkansas until you get a little bit deeper into this thing. Was it week 3? They play BYU. That'll be interesting to play Kent State next week. And then, of course, the big first SEC games at LSU on the road. So, yeah, so we'll see. And again, SEC football, we brought it up earlier about the Tennessee running back group. They're stacked with those 3 guys. Right,
Yeah,
Small, and Sampson.
Dylan Sampson is good now. I'm just telling you, he's explosive. But we did a top 5 position group rankings in running back. I had Jalen Wright in the top 3 running backs number 4 in the SEC because he just looks like a different guy. He's no longer trying to just bust it to the outside and outrun everybody. He's patient. He's reading blocks. If Jalen Wright is that good for Tennessee this year, watch out because, I mean, he is explosive, like home run hitter. With his speed, and now he's learning to run, like truly run like a running back, not just run with the football, but he is running a nuanced, patient, knowledgeable running back that also has tremendous athleticism.
All right, guys, as we said, we were going to go about a half hour here. We're going to let Blayne enjoy his vacation, and we'll have more reaction. Chris and I are going to do some stuff tomorrow, I think, and then again, we'll start to look ahead to the week 2 games. But your last chance, you got about 30 seconds to 60 seconds here. If you want to leave a super chat, you can to show your support. If you enjoyed this stream, leave us a super chat, or you know what, just hit the like button or the subscribe button. We really love you guys interacting with us on these streams, and it always makes it a lot more fun. So again, we will have a lot more of these, a lot of content on your way, reacting to week 1. We'll have a lot of, as we said, our usual game previews for week 2 and all of that. And yeah, we'll have a lot of fun with it. Put me on the spot here. I'm picking LSU. So
I mean, yeah, LSU.
Pick LSU, man.
I mean, they were that good in year 1 with Brian Kelly, boy. They played like hot dog water, like old hot dog water last year against Florida State, and still almost beat them. They're going to beat them this year.
We got LSU. Blayne and I both have LSU in the college football playoff in our picks, so I think we'll stick with that and go with it on that. Donovan, how about this? We'll do something in the next couple of days, kind of looking at some offenses or defenses, because we got to get Blayne out of here. And I didn't mean that WWE promo style. We're doing it in a nice way, getting him out of here. So yeah, but we appreciate you guys. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing this every Saturday, reaction wise. Chris will be joining us as well. So we'll have a lot of fun with it. Appreciate you guys as always. And we'll talk to you again here soon at Southeastern 14.